Hello, Hearties. It's Catherine here from Selling from the Heart, and I'm here with Samantha Selby, the birth healer, to talk to her about her experience of taking the Get More Clients Saying Yes course and how that has impacted her business. So hi, Sam. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you for having me.
And would you like to start by introducing yourself and your business and letting people know a little bit more about what you do?
Okay, so my name is Samantha Selby and I am known as the birth healer. So my work involves supporting women whose experience of pregnancy and birth isn't really what they thought it would be. So that might be because they've had difficulty conceiving, whether they've experienced a miscarriage, whether their pregnancy has been difficult, whether they've experienced a traumatic birth or even a stillbirth. And my work combines my 20 years experience in the field of complementary medicine, supporting them both physically and emotionally so that they can recover from their experience and go on to live the kind of life that they want to live without being held back by their negative experiences.
Okay, great. Really clear introduction. Thank you. And so tell me where you were at in your business before you did the Get More Clients Saying Yes course.
Okay, so I, as I said, have had 20 years experience, but as a typical therapist of working kind of appointment by appointment, people booking in and then they book their next one. And, you know, as most therapists are, where you kind of pay as you go. And I had a level of business. It was okay, but it wasn't really giving me the financial rewards I wanted or needed. And I was probably quite stuck in a rut. And to be fair, even thinking about going to get a proper job.
Oh, okay. So that was quite a turning point for you, really, I guess. What changed for you in your business as a result of what you learned in that course?
Okay, so there were some huge changes. One of the first ones really was niching, because before doing the course, I was just a therapist. I worked with the people I worked with, but I didn't have a niche, and I was resistant, so resistant to niching. It was untrue. So that was the kind of the first thing that happened, was then really stepping into having a niche, feeling as if I was okay with having a niche because there was a lot of emotional resistance within me. And the really magic thing from having a niche is that, yes, I do my niche work with my birth healer, but from that, I actually now have worked with perimenopause and menopause clients. I work with anxiety clients. I get just as many clients from outside of my niche as I do in my niche, because I put that focus in, I put it out there, I became an expert, and I became known as an expert. And that really happened from that first kind of delving into the Get More Clients Saying Yes course, because that's what it encourages you to do.
Yeah, and of course, you know, you already were an expert in the field, in the area of birth healer. You were already an expert. You just didn't have the courage to make the leap to niche. Okay, great. And I hear that a lot of people say that when they make the decision to niche, that they do then get more clients from outside the niche than they had had before. So it's the same story with you. And what other differences have you seen? You know, what difference is it making, for example, to your sales conversations and the way that you enroll your clients?
Okay, so as I said before, I was always a pay-as-you-go therapist, as most therapists are when they first start out, even after doing 20 years of it. And packaging my offerings was another, it was huge. I'd never done it before. And it's made it just transformed my business. I no longer book people on a pay-as-you-go basis. Every client is a package. By doing the course, I really got to understand what you're selling is taking them from A to B, taking them from where they are to where they want to be. And by following the course and then following the sales structure when you're actually having a sales conversation, because I didn't really even have one of those. And I call it my cup and tea and cake session. So I really wanted to frame it as something that was like having a chat, because for me, I didn't want it to feel salesy, and so and you really promote that as in it's not salesy, and it really isn't. So now I sell packages, and I have my cup and tea and cake sessions with every client, and it's transformed everything.
Yeah, and as a result, I mean, you were telling me about a session before we came on. You were telling me about a client that you'd signed up yesterday, and how.
Yeah.
Tell me about that again, because I just love the way you described it.
It was just so easy. It was literally had the conversation with her. I followed the structure, and I still do now. I have my my kind of questions, and by I've practiced a lot when I was first doing it. One thing about the group is you get to practice with other people within your group, so you get to kind of feel what works and what doesn't. And now when I have my conversations, my cup of tea and cake sessions, it's not like working. It doesn't feel icky. It just flows, and 90% of the conversations I have result in them signing up to my program. It's like every single time it just works, because the language you use, the way you can you get to know them better in a short period of time. And this isn't a really long thing that happens, and very often before I even get to that point where I'm asking them, they're asking me, how can I work with you, what do I need to do? It's just so easy, and I enjoy it. I actually enjoy having those conversations. It's brilliant.
And how did you feel about the sales before you did the course?
Oh, it was a dirty word. It was, as I said, as I mentioned earlier, it was something I wouldn't want to do. Selling was not. It was not something I even thought was kind of supposed to, something I wanted to do, or even something that was part of my business, because this has changed my whole concept of my work and how I serve my clients, in just the way of thinking about it. So yeah, having a sales conversation, I wouldn't even have wanted to do it. And now, but I think it doesn't feel like a sales conversation. It's having a chat.
Yeah, you call it a cup of tea session, a cup of tea and cake session, and in a way, in your mind, it's not even a sales conversation, but yet you're following the structure that I taught you, and that then leads to the clients saying, when can I start? So I was going to ask you, how it's changed your business, now that it's a year on, but I think you've sort of already answered that, because you said you don't sell session by session anymore at all. You only sell packages. You're working with a much once, even though you've niched, so that must be very rewarding as well. Great.
Yeah, and it has just transformed everything. My business is completely different to how it was a year ago, and I would never go back to working that way again. My income, I'm selling, well, as I say, 90% of my cup of tea and cake sessions actually end up being a client who books with me for a package, and then once I've done that initial package, they're carrying on working with me with a kind of follow-up program. So it just is, my business is unrecognizable. It's changed everything.
And how about you as a person? How has this changed you as a person? How has it changed Sam?
Oh, confidence. The confidence in myself, as you said at the beginning. Yes, I already was an expert in my field, because the amount of sessions that I'd done, and the work and the in-depth understanding and all of that. But I believe that now, totally, kind of in the core of my being. My confidence is, I can't even put a number on it. And that kind of goes into my work as well. So I just feel so much more confident in myself. And that's obviously that goes into every area of my life. So yeah, it's not just about your work. It's about you as a person, and that is the big difference. It's not, don't think that this course, anybody who's watching this, that this will just affect your work. It will affect and change and transform you, and that is huge.
Yeah. And where do you think your business would be if you hadn't decided to do the course? I mean, specifically in relation to the sales conversation, because it sounds like that piece is really, really in flow for you. Where do you think you'd be if you hadn't decided to learn how to actually have the sales conversations in the way you have?
Where would I be? I would be this person who was plodding along, who loved doing our work, but wasn't really earning. It was a hobby business, really. I mean, that was a shock when I actually realised and understood that that's what it was. And I've been doing it for 20 years. I would be, what comes to mind is this kind of little rut and kind of small person who may well have possibly even jacked it all in, because I'd lost my mojo, and although I loved seeing my clients, it was draining, and yeah, I can't even imagine how that would be. I don't even want to imagine it, to be honest.
Yeah, and of course, not just the difference to you, but the difference to your clients. Like how would that have impacted on your clients? Because presumably you wouldn't have been helping as many people.
No, and that's the thing. Most of us do this kind of work because we've got this urge, this drive to help and support our clients. And if I'd have stopped doing what I was doing, I would not be helping. I wouldn't have helped the people in this year, and the impacts on their lives enormous. There would have been, we're a stone. We're like the stone in the pond. It ripples out, and we impact not just our life, but everybody else's lives and our clients. My clients now, they get so much more by packaging my work. They're getting so much more value. I'd not even thought of doing that. And so my clients, it's transformed them as well, and their experience of working with me is completely different from that initial cup of tea and cake session, because it's built my confidence and it's changed the way I approach my work. So yeah, it's kind of hard to answer that because I don't know, in a way. Well, I probably wouldn't have worked with half of them, to be completely honest.
So they wouldn't have got the difference. And then finally, what would you say to somebody who is maybe in a position where you were selling session by session, not able to even imagine that they could put a package together, feeling really uncomfortable about the whole idea of sales, thinking it's a bit of a dirty thing to do? What would you say to somebody who's thinking about joining the program?
Do it. Just do it. If it's a money issue, if it's thinking, well, I'm only earning this amount of money from my business, and how can I invest this into doing this, then it's transformed my business. I am doubling my income every month, at least. Some months tripling my income, and that is through being able to sell a package and being able to do it in a way that's not icky. If you've got any doubts about it being salesy or that it's businessy, it's not. The process that you've created and that you lay out, it doesn't feel like that. It is literally having a conversation, but doing it in a way that creates that empathy and rapport, and means that your client doesn't feel like they're being sold to. And that's the biggest part of it, because it's seamless and it works. So it's your experience and your client's experience is completely changed. So if you've got any doubts, chuck them out the window, kick them out the door, because it's like, it's a no-brainer. And I had doubts, you know, I did have doubts, but do you know what? Worth every single penny and more.
Great. Thank you, Sam. Thank you. And thank you so much for spending the time to share that, because I think that's going to be really inspiring for other therapists to hear, you know, irrespective of whether they decide to join this program, just hearing what's possible, you know, going from 20 years of session by session and, you know, not having the income that you wanted to making that sort of change. It's just so wonderful to hear. So thank you for sharing that. And it's been lovely talking to you today. And we'll say goodbye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.